just to be in touch with a sense of well-wishing, a sense that we're here because we wish ourselves well. I hope we've not gathered today to torture ourselves, but to wish ourselves well and get in touch with that sense of well-wishing that we have for this being here. And in recognizing this, in reconnecting with this, in recollecting this, in collecting in this, recognizing what would help us most is that if every being that we met was completely enlightened, it would make our lives easier. So we can be selfish bodhisattvas and wish all beings well. I believe the format here is that we sit together for maybe 20 minutes. Is that correct?
Yes.
I really don't mind how you sit quietly. Because anyway, I won't hear you if you've got your audio off. But also, if you recognize that there's a certain value in stillness that is not rigid. A certain value in settling. A certain value in sensitivity. And the movements and the impulses to move can be appreciated, allowing the meditation to be a growth in sensitivity that is tolerant, can endure. Is patient. And so a gift. A gift. Life is given. This moment is given. This is the given moment. And this practice of knowing how this gift is received, how this life is received, and responded to. The response is life. Where that response originates, and it given back from a sense of sufficiency and release. A gift is given fully from a sense of sufficiency and release. So without expectation or demand, this knowing of life as it is given, received, the response that is life. A breath, received and released. In this moment, in this life, giving life to life, releasing, in this stillness, in this moment. This breath. This complete sensitivity, stillness, reconnecting the ground, the whole of this experience. This knowing, and this sufficiency and this release as we give, as we receive all of it. In this well-wishing, this life, this capacity for transformation, this breath. Allowing, receiving, releasing, in this giving. Reconnecting, recollecting, and gathering the energy of clear gift of attention. This moment, this life, this now, this here, this place, this time, this experience. This receiving of a breath, this release. it's good and it's enough. This moment is good and it's enough. In this transformation of attention offered, life received. This tolerance, this patience, this knowing, this endurance, and this gift. Clear-hearted practice. Clear-hearted receiving. Is there a formal request for a formal talk, or is
Actually, Tan Ajahn, we are not, I think we never tried it or we are not good in it, but
Nafashmal? Never mind.
but if it's okay, we will
No,
invite ask
okay.
for.
You do want to hear something from me, huh?
Very much. So in an informal way, we definitely thank you again for the time and for enabling this.
It's fine. It's fine. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namasami. beginning. Beginning now and here. Where's the assumption? Where's the starting baseline? And for Buddhists, it's that Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa, which seems such a little thing because Buddhists, we do it an awful lot. But it's helpful to be, or can be, as a recollection sometimes, just to remember, reconnect, recollect with the assumption that maybe there's some beings that can teach, that there are beings that have been awakened and are awakened, that are free from greed, free from a sense of neediness, free from a sense of ever being overwhelmed, and really clear and free from ignorance about how things are right now. This is one of the assumptions that's listed in this Eightfold Path thing that the Buddha taught. It's self-referential in so many ways, but that assumption that there is something that can be learned, somebody that we learn from. And as Buddhists, there's this thing, Namo Tassa, homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one, this assumption that that it's possible. There is somebody who can teach. Because certainly there are things that I don't understand and don't know about. There are beings and ways of acting and assumptions that are made that are not clear. There's an awful lot that I don't know. I really don't know where I've come from. You've heard the story probably of the weaver's daughter this is a Dhammapada commentary or some sort of commentary thing. And the Buddha visited a place that he'd been to before. And in the way that they used to go bindabat in those days, he just turned up, walked into the village and sat down and in the little place, in the little sala in the middle of the village. And the people offered the meal and the people gathered. And the Buddha just sat there quietly and didn't say very much. And then there was a weaver in the village, and he had a job on and he was working really hard and he really wanted to get it done. So he was just working. And his daughter was helping him. And so he sent his daughter to go and get another bobbin of wool from the spinners, the other side of the village. So she went across, and on her way back, she heard that the Lord Buddha was in town. So she made a little diversion and passed just so that she could catch a glimpse of him. So she passed by the back of the gathering of all the villagers and the elders and all the people there who were sitting quietly, who were waiting for the Buddha to say something. And the Buddha, when he saw this young girl, he said, "Where have you come from?" And she said, "I don't know." And the people who were sitting there thought, "Why is the Buddha called out to this person?" And then the Buddha said, "Where are you going?" And the girl said, "I don't know." And the Buddha asked again, "You don't know?" And the girl said, "I know." And the Buddha said, "You know?" And the girl said, "I don't know." And by this time, because it probably took a bit longer than me telling the story, of course, the people who were sitting there were really, really, really irritated. And because these were the only sort of words that the Buddha had said that day. And the Buddha said, "Oh, don't get upset. No, you know who she is. You know she's the weaver's daughter. You know, when I asked her where she'd come from, she knew not to say, 'Well, I've just come from where the spinners are.' What I was asking her was, 'Do you know what you were before you were born?' And she said, 'I don't know.' And then I asked her again, 'Where are you going?' And again she said, 'I don't know.' And she was not stupid. She knew that she was going back to her father's house where he was weaving. What I was asking her was, 'Do you know where you're going when you die?' And she replied correctly, 'I don't know.' And then I asked her again, 'You don't know?' And she said, 'I know,' because she knows that she's going to die. And then I asked her again, 'You know?' And she said, 'I don't know,' because she doesn't know when. So this depth of uncertainty to our lives, which is present, and the only certainty is that this will end. So this is helpful to reflect on, to know that one can live with this uncertainty. And again, in right view, there's this thing of there are beings that we don't know anything about, where they come from or where they're going, where the devas are or whether they're not, the spontaneous born beings and all this. But we do know that we've had parents, and that again is the practice of right view. We actually have come from somewhere. We have come from our parents. Our life has been given to us. Life is a given. And it's as you know, the most precious things are the things that have been given. This is just how it is. When there's no bargaining involved, things are given. I doubt that your mother charged you rent when you were in the womb. I doubt that your mother asked you to pay for the milk or the support that she gave you, without which this body would not survive. This is given. Anyway, for the weaver's daughter, she went back She was carrying her spindles of wool to her father's house, and he was weaving away. And you know, with the loom, it has a shuttle that you push across. When you tamp it down, and then you push across the shuttle. Well, the father didn't really notice that his daughter had come in and pushed the shuttle across, hit her on the head, and she died. So the Buddha said, don't worry about her. She was not confused. She did not take her life personally. She was not anxious or worried about what to do. And she was not caught in this anxious overthinking of what shall I do next? Who am I? What am I? Where am I going? What's the best for me? I am somebody, I need to do something, and I don't know what to do about it, or what I should do about it. Or on the other side, which is, you're somebody, you need to do something, and I'm not sure if you can do it or if it's the right thing. This is endless, aimless wandering. It's part of what this thing is. And so you get to the question is, whoa, if this is endless, aimless wandering, what should I do about it? Again, you get caught in this thing one more time. I am somebody, I need to do something, and I'm not sure what I should do. And this is the ridiculousness of believing in thought, believing that solutions come through thinking. Well, I should just stop thinking. Well, how do I stop thinking? Can I think about how I should stop thinking? And it's not that. You can see how you can see that there's no way out that way. You can really feel how there's no way out that way, how it tightens and restricts and makes one's life small. But there are good things that one can do. And assuming that that goodness will lead to goodness, will lead to skillfulness, is another assumption. And those assumptions are things that one can practice. And when you practice something, you don't expect to get it perfect straight off. No, when you practiced riding a bicycle, if you ride a bicycle, you expect it to fall off. When you actually started to walk, if you thought that you weren't ever going to get there, you'd never stopped crawling. You expected to fall over. Now you just keep going. Practice, practice, practice. Practice the Eightfold Path. That's really the noblest way of living this life. And having confidence that there is that can be practiced, is to be practiced if one's really going to mature, if one's really going to grow up. And accept this gift that is given, this life that is given. Because life is so precious. It's so precious to this sensitivity. This is the sensitivity that is the capacity to transform through this knowing. This knowing of how life is received and how it's responded to, how sensitivity works, how life works, because sensitivity is just irritation. And I tell you, life is really irritating and very frustrating. And that's the nature of it. It's not supposed to be otherwise. Oh, I don't want my life to be irritating and no. Life is this. Sensitivity is this. It's this to be understood. There is this experience of not getting what we want, being associated with the dislike, separated from the like, grief, old age, sickness, death. All of this is irritating. But that's just how it is. It's not supposed to be otherwise. But there is a cause, and there is an ending. There is where it ends. Now, if you want, and that's an assumption until it's realized. But it can be realized, and assuming that it can't be realized is an assumption, and because the Buddhist teaching is about causality, it's important to know what causes and conditions one's creating in one's life. Is one's life a blessing or a curse to oneself and others? Does it lead to less suffering now and in the future, or does it lead to more suffering now and in the future? This is a question of wisdom. And wisdom in action is compassion, because compassion seeks to reduce suffering now and in the future, and it requires wisdom. So practice assuming that it's possible. Practice volition, that is not about harming, not about indulging the senses, which is a sort of self-harming, and not about dwelling in hatred. Because that's just painful. And blinding and desensitizing. It's a denial of life. Life is supreme sensitivity. And the practice is this, the way for this practice is through this tolerance of knowing this moment, here and now. How is this heart receiving this moment? How is this heart responding now? Because we don't know. We don't know an awful lot. And if we allow ourselves not to know, what does it feel like? When without expectations, without hope, without fear, hope and fear, they go hand in hand. One hopes for something, one fears something. One fears something, one hopes for something. It's like this. We don't know. I don't know, certainly. Like what can I know now? How can I can know how I'm receiving this moment and how I'm responding to this moment? That's it. Beyond that, I've got really very little idea of what's going on. I've all sorts of theories, or I can have all sorts of theories and all sorts of ideas, but I really know that those are not to be trustworthy because they've been wrong so many times before. And I don't know how it's going to turn out. And why take it seriously? Yeah, it's serious, but it's not serious. It's like this. This moment is serious, but I don't need to make more suffering out of it. That's a choice. And if I have a volition to harm, or a volition to indulge, or a volition to dwell in hatred, then I'm just making more problems for myself and others. Because what I would really wish, as I said right at the beginning, is that everybody be completely free from all greed, hatred, and confusion. It would make my life easier. I would really like you all to be completely enlightened and to practice being completely enlightened, because it would make my life easier. So make my life easy. So when you meet anybody, that's actually what you would wish for them, because you'd like your life to be easier, I'm sure. And if you remember that a little bit, then that helps me, because it helps me to feel that I wish you well. I'm very selfish because it's the easiest way for me to feel. It causes me less suffering, and I hope it causes you less suffering. I don't demand it. Okay. I won't be upset if you're not, but I'm not going to make that sort of demand upon you. I won't like you unless you're enlightened. It's a really, really hard thing to put on somebody. But it's useful to recognize that I wish you well. And I do the best I can in this moment. And I actually trust that actually all of you are doing the best you can. Right now, this is what you can do. This is how things are. And I would encourage you to keep practicing the Eightfold Path, because that will give some nobility and value to this life that is given. So I offer this for your consideration. Take it or leave it, up to you. How much you take and what you don't take is, I don't know. It's the best I can do. I'll try and answer some of the questions and probably and I might answer I don't know, because that's probably the truth. Thank you. Thank you for listening. So I can take questions, or I don't know how you want to do it, Roy.
Yes, just if someone wants to ask a question, so just feel free to unmute yourself. It's recorded, but if someone will want, so we can afterwards edit the question, so don't worry about that.
Also, you can type it in the chat if you wish. If you're at a keyboard.
Yes, so we have a question here, and it's over there.
Hi, thank you. Actually, it's two questions. During the discourse, I realized the recurring thoughts, very compulsive. I felt going in and out, intervening thoughts, and it's happening a lot these days for me. If Ajahn can perhaps suggest maybe a technique or a way to handle it.
So can I just repeat the question here, because I'm not sure that I received all of it. what I heard was I've noticed some recurring thoughts or just coming up, and I didn't hear what they were about, so I apologize. And then, can you suggest some techniques to sort of do something with them? Is that correct?
Yes, please. Yeah.
Okay. So it comes again from this. It's not wrong to feel this, first of all, but this is the nature of personality. That there is some problem that I feel because it's me, because I am somebody. And so there must be some way of dealing with it. And of course, if there's some way of dealing with it, if I hear that, then there's the question, is this the right way to deal with it, or can I do it? Yeah, that's the nature of this way of questioning about, there's recurring thoughts, I need to do something about it. And if I do something about it, or if I'm told to do something about it, I'm not sure if it's the right thing or if I can do it. Does that make sense as a beginning, as a basis?
Mm-hmm.
It's not wrong, but now I can put some techniques out there, and I got no idea if they'll work for you. Okay, so all right, and then having said that, and it's the basic error is thinking that I am somebody and I need to deal with my recurring thoughts, and of course whatever technique I do, well, there's going to be the doubt: is this the right technique, or can I do it? So I'm just putting that out there, and there's nothing to get rid of. So first of all, there are a few things you might want to try with recurring thoughts. Notice what's not thinking, because you can't think about what's not thinking. The mind goes a bit blank. So, and that's okay. So you think, well, there's nothing that's not thinking. Well, okay, well, try taking that recurring thought and slowing it down. And then notice what is not thinking. Just hold it really tightly. By slowing it down, like you turn down the speed on your video so that it goes down at quarter speed or whatever it is, at eighth speed. Okay, that's another thing you can do. What will get you out is the knowing what's not thinking. Okay, that's what will get you out of everything. Actually, the knowing is the way out, and knowing that one knows, knowing that knowing, and knowing what one doesn't know, knowing the knowing. So, if the other thing you can do is to get another thought and put it in there instead. So that's the mantra technique. Okay. So you go with Buddho, 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 or whatever other mantra you like. I'd suggest a mantra that's peaceful or something that means something to you that actually you then obsess with rather than the obsessive thoughts, and something that takes you to a sense of peace. So that's another way of doing it. So you can now got 3 maybe ways. Then the other thing you can do is the other way of noticing what's not thinking is there's one that, most people have practiced at some point if you're sitting here, which is take some physical sensation and give all your attention to that physical sensation. And the one that's most often used is breathing. Yeah. And you take maybe a spot at the nostril or a spot at the belly, or you take this attention through the belly. You take the whole business of breathing as your object of meditation, and that will lead, if you use it right, lead all the way to liberation. It's a pretty cool thing because if you're alive, you're breathing, and it's always with you, it's actually quite a good thing to use. It's not for everybody, but the breath, anapanasati, is recommended as one of the ways of stopping thinking. Sorry. So, because you absorb into just the breath. You have to take it, there are 16 steps to anapanasati, so you can start working with all of them in all the different orders. So you've got factorial 16, 16 times 15 times 14, like that, all the way down. And you can cover the 4 foundations of mindfulness. Okay? And one of the ways of working with the breath that will probably stop you thinking if you really try it is to start counting it, which is not in the scriptures, but it's a technique you can do. So you start counting the breath, and you count on the out breath. You can count in many ways with the breath. You can count in breath 1, out breath 2, or you can just count on in breath 1, next in breath 2, up to 5, and then back down again. Or you can count within the breath. You can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in a breath, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in an out breath. There's many ways of counting. And if you do that assiduously, all you get absorbed in is the counting. The most complicated way of counting is to count 1 on the first in breath, 1 on the second in breath, 1 on the first out breath, 1 on the second out breath, 2 on the third out breath, 1 on the 4th out breath, 1 on the 5th out breath, 2 on the 6th out breath, 3 on the next 7th out breath, 2 on the 8th out breath, 3, 2, 1, and work up to 10 and back down. It's really complicated, but if you can do that, it'll take you maybe an hour or 2 of really hard work. And then at the end of that, I tell you, you won't be thinking. You'll stop. And because you have to start back at the beginning again if you start. So there's really complicated ways of stopping thinking by using thinking, but it comes back to the knowing. Okay, and you can try any of those, and that's just the beginning, because you can also try absorbing yourselves in or learning one of the chants, and then you've still got the thing going in your head if you're not careful. I am somebody, I need to do something, and I'm not sure if it's the right thing, because maybe some other Ajahn will tell me something else to do, or I'm not sure that I can do it. And that's the trap that we're all in. Yeah. So I'm an Ajahn, I need to tell my pupil something, and I'm not sure whether the pupil's going to understand it or not, and if it's going to be any good. Yeah. So that's the trap of personality, and it's not wrong. That's just the way that personality is. And thinking is not necessarily unhelpful. It's trying to figure it out so that the evolution behind the thinking is helpful, and then figuring out what it's doing. Thinking is not necessarily unhelpful. That's one of the questions. But somebody asked, what does it mean to understand suffering? Understanding suffering is humbling. Understanding suffering is a sense of, oh, that's what it is. That's what birth is. That's what this sense of separateness is. This birth is a sense of separateness. And there's necessarily stress involved with that. And it's not wrong. And then the whole sense of wanting it to change is stressful. Aging is stressful. And then once it's started, the not wanting it to end is stressful. A sense of being associated with that which one likes, or separated from that which is liked, associated with that which is not liked. Grief, sorrow, lamentation, despair. These are all dukkha. Okay. Those are 3 questions that I think I've answered. I've got two things here. Yeah.
Ajahn, can I ask, maybe it's a bit off topic, but I think it's maybe related in some way. And you shared a few times that you were both, I think, in Amaravati and also in Portugal and other places, a very had a lot of responsibility in terms of, I don't know how to say, office or organization or like of the monasteries and the communities. And I was wondering if maybe you can share a bit how you find yourself in that position and about practicing in a more office, I don't know, organizational responsibilities.
How to deal with organizations and responsibilities, and what do I do about it? I'm not sure what it is that, you know, I'm getting on now, and yet I recognize that in the different situations where I'm born, there's a sense of recreating. And then what I try to do more now is not recreate the same patterns that I have had or seen so many times before. So, or the ones that are unhelpful anyway, and trying to find habits that are helpful. There's something that I have on my wall, which was something that it's part of a letter, I think, that Ajahn Chah wrote to Luang Por Sumedho, which is finding ways to use what situations to build paramitas. So recognizing that every opportunity, you can look up the 10 paramitas if you haven't found them already. And then those are the sort of helpful habits that one can develop. Use whatever is, what I've found helpful is to try to use whatever is thrown at me in any position as a way of trying to build paramitas rather than getting caught in kilesas. And I didn't really want to come to Portugal in some ways. I didn't want to stay here, but I've been here 12 years now. Before that, I was at Amaravati for 11 years, and I went there because Luang Por Sumedho asked me to go. And then before that, I was in Australia for 4 years, just trying to keep my head down. Before that, I was the abbot in Sumedhārāma in New Zealand. That was 94 to 98. And I went there because I was asked. Before that, I was all over the place in Europe, mostly at Chithurst. That was from about 96 to 93, 94. Before that, I was just in a couple of places in England, and before that, I was 5 years in Thailand. Before that, I was in England where I met Luang Por Chah and Ajahn Sumedho. And as some of you know, I didn't really intend to stay when I first met Ajahn, when I first joined the community in 78. I just thought I'd hang around for a bit and try to help. And I recognize that that's quite a useful way of approaching a situation. What can I offer here? And that's how I feel it. And what I've recognized is that there's very, very little I can control. But what I can offer is come from a sense of offering, come from a sense of release, come from a sense of sufficiency, come from a sense of generosity. And that comes from a sense of appreciation also. If people ask me why I continue in this life, I say gratitude. And gratitude is the main motivation I recognize that supports my life, because there's more and more the sense of life is given, and I've been supported, and I recognize the gratitude that I have for all the people who've supported me personally, and then all the people who've supported my teachers who've supported me, and all the people who've supported the teachers' teachers, and all the people who've supported the teachers' teachers' teachers, all the way back to the people who supported the Lord Buddha and the Lord Buddha himself, a sense of gratitude to the Lord Buddha and all the people who've ever supported the teachings right back to then. And that sense of gratitude is what supports me. And I don't know how it would work in leadership situations in lay life. I've not tried it. I find it strange that people ask me about family problems, because I've had parents, but I haven't had kids. And relationships at work. Well, I've got pretty good work colleagues. I'm very lucky. Not all the time, but most of the time. So, and that sense of gratitude is what supports me most. I hope that helps a little bit. The sense of, and then the sense of what blessings can one make when one blesses something. One leaves it in a better state than one found it. That sense of, can I bless this situation? I mention this sometimes because there's somebody who works in the village here at Fontaboa, and I've seen her since we came here a few years ago, and she just takes care of the streets. She really takes care of the streets, and I keep thinking she really blesses the streets. She blesses the streets every time she works on them. She leaves them in a better state than she found them. And that sense of a blessing is something that you can do. You can come with a sense of, I can bless this occasion. You can do this. Oh, I can't do this. I can't bless anything. I'm not worthy. Bless yourself and feel that you can, because actually you would wish to, and leave somewhere better than you found it. When you wash up your dishes, you're actually blessing them. When you're sweeping your flat and keeping it tidy, you're blessing it. When you're leaving a situation in a better situation than you found it, or in where there's less suffering, you're blessing it. Can you leave a situation in a better way than you found it, or a way that there's less suffering? That's a challenge for you. And life is a challenge. Leave it so that there's less suffering. A conversation, a relationship, the way that you are, and be grateful that you can do things like bless your flat by keeping it clean and tidy, or good enough so that it's not a complete tip. Look after things. Have the feeling that you are offering your life as a blessing, so that it's actually helpful. Give it a go. I hope that helps a tiny bit. Got no idea if it's relevant.
אולי רק תתקרב קצת למצלמה של כאן.
Hello,
Yeah.
Ajahn.
Hello.
So I wanted to follow up on the first question of my colleague here. Speaking of
Can't hear clearly, sorry.
I was saying that I wanted to follow up on the first question of my colleague. You were talking about colleagues, so
I'm
Yes.
using the same word. So during this time here in Israel, we've seen ups and downs. It's been stressful at times. And what I've noticed in my personal practice is that oftentimes, even if it's just a personal stress, not collective stress, but stress in general makes it harder for me to practice. And I've found that it's a paradox in the sense that sometimes when I most need practice, it is also the most challenging. And I was wondering if you could say anything about that, if you have from your experience, etc.
So the sense that when times are most stressful, when I feel most in stress, it can be that it's more difficult to get a perspective on what's happening and more difficult to practice. Is that correct?
I would say yes.
Yeah. And on the whole, I know that pain makes me stupid. There's something about pain that makes that because it's overwhelm. The sense of there's lack of sensitivity because everything's overwhelmed, and that's true. No, and that's why it's sometimes helpful to um, be protective about things. So sometimes I say when you have a choice, if you're going into a stressful situation, protect yourself before you go there. Yeah? Now, in the whole of society and all things, so that you don't get hurt. The analogy I use is for if you know you're going to take something hot out of the oven, you make sure you wear oven gloves, which makes you less sensitive so that you don't drop it. So less sensitivity is sometimes helpful because it's conscious. I'm not going to get overwhelmed by this. Too hot. Yeah. So that's sometimes helpful. However, for some people, sometimes high stress can actually bring a breakthrough. Yeah. Sometimes high levels of pain can bring a breakthrough. Well, I experienced this, I tell this story so many times, I'm a bit embarrassed by it, but because it's not really so much, but I had a sequestered disc hernia eventually, which I was found out. So I woke up in the middle of the night with incredible pain. Yeah. And I had to crawl to the bathroom using my elbows to go and vomit with the pain. But I remember doing it, and somewhere inside me there was this sense of this is ridiculous, and I was laughing at it, and so that was that was that was helpful because I wasn't trying to change it. I was just thinking this is how the body is, and there was something ridiculous about it. And also, some people come to investigate, what is life really about if they've had something that's really been traumatic in their lives. So, there's a balance to be made there. But to think, well, there's nothing you cannot tolerate. This is something that's really strange. Because if you're experiencing it, you are tolerating it.
Mm.
Otherwise, you'd be dead. So it's actually that sense that I can't tolerate something is extra. Yeah. Because you are tolerating it. And if you can just thank yourself for thinking, this is happening now. There's a sigh. This is really, really painful. It's like this. And so immediately for me, when I say that to myself about something, there's a sense of relief, really, because there's a sense of complete acceptance. and I'm not trying to get rid of it. Yeah? And that for me there's a letting go. And if you can notice when you smile at yourself, or you smile at the situation, notice when you're doing that, you're not adding to any suffering. So it's actually quite helpful to notice that. A sense of, this is ridiculous. Human life is ridiculous. It's a completely embarrassing and strange thing to be doing. It's not, you know, and trying to make it different is just making things worse, or can make things worse. Thinking that one can offer to change things, thinking of a way, how can I bless this? How can I transform this? That's more helpful. I mean, you've come here today because there's that impulse to try to transform your life. You've come here today, as I said right at the beginning, I hope because you wish yourself well. And to be in touch with that sense of, I wish myself well, that's actually a nice place to stay. Before you start thinking, if I do this, it's going to be better. As soon as you think, if I do this, then it's going to be better, then you're making more stress. If you think, what can I give to this? There's more openness. Yeah? When you give to something, you're not demanding that it be different. Yeah? You're coming much more from a sense of sufficiency and release. Generosity is about feeling a sense of sufficiency and release, because you're not trying to get something out of it. If you think, well, I can do this and make it better, then you're holding on to a result. Yeah, I want to make it like this. Whereas if you can enjoy just the giving and the release, then you can give the blessing in the moment. Try it. It's a suggestion. But again, I'm somebody, I need to do something. I'm not sure if it's the right thing or if I can do it. We'll just spin you again and again and again and again and again. Because you're taking your personality too personally. It's called Sakaya Ditti, Silabbata Paramasa, and Vicikicca. Yeah? The first three fetters. More difficult to overcome than practically everything. Worth it though. Because you wish yourself well. And going back to that sense of, I wish myself well, it's an easier place to live without trying to think, well, if I do this, then I'll be well. And the sense of, I want to make somebody happy, be careful with that. Because if you want to make somebody happy, there's something in there that doesn't like them as they are. Yeah? You can, that's weird, because you can offer something, but if you think, well, may this make you happy, then I'm not liking you as you are. I'm not accepting you as you are. And it's not wrong to feel that, but to know that is helpful. And then if you say to yourself, I'll do this to make me happy, then it means you're not actually liking how you are now. You're not accepting yourself as you are now. If you can say, well, how can I treat myself so that I suffer less now and in the future? That's not about making yourself happy. Yeah? Because if a happiness has to be, if it's worth it, it has to be independent of conditions. A happiness independent of condition is that happiness that's worthwhile. A conditioned happiness is always stressful. The sense of, I'll give you something in order to make you happy. Please like this. Or I'll give it to myself in order to make myself happy, because I don't like myself. Yeah? Much just notice the impulse, notice the karma you're creating, because that's where the result will be found. Notice the karma you're creating. Notice the intention behind the action. Is the intention coming from a space of sufficiency and release, a sense of generosity? There are a few, maybe strange suggestions. None of that will really liberate you, because I can't be liberated. What will liberate is the knowing. Good luck. I do wish you well. And beings have wished you well. Remember that all through, since the time of the Buddha, there have been people who've been saying to themselves and to others, may all beings be well and happy. May all beings be well and happy is something that many beings have been saying since the time of the Buddha, possibly even before. People have been thinking, may all beings be well and happy. And that includes you right now, right here. There are beings that wish you well, have wished you well, do wish you well. When you think nobody loves me, which is a very, very easy thing to think, you can recognize that the disciples of the Buddha certainly wished you well. The Lord Buddha wished you well. And many enlightened beings have thought, may all beings be well and happy, and have said that.
Can I ask you something? First, thank you very much for meeting with us. I feel it's not clear to me your words of wisdom, how to practice them in everyday life. I mean, acceptance, I mean, life is irritable by nature, as you said, and I mean, so when to act and when to be passively accepting. I mean, there are sometimes we just need to accept things, but sometimes if someone is cheating us or bullying us, or sometimes in larger scales, when still to act, even if we know this is reality. I mean, are there guidelines? I mean,
good idea. Good idea. Do act, but out of a sense of may they create less karma that's harmful to themselves and for others, so that all beings may suffer less now and in the future. Call the police, sue, stop them breaking in, but with the intention, may they not create bad karma for themselves and for others. If a kid is running in front of a bus, you grab them and pull them back. If somebody's doing something that's going to hurt themselves or hurt others, grab them and pull them back. Figuratively or actually, do that. But no, come from a sense of may they suffer less now and in the future. If it comes from a sense of they're bad people, then that's not going to help them or help others. If it comes from a sense of they are brothers and sisters in old age, sickness, and death, they also wish to suffer less. May I help them suffer less now and in the future. May I do something that will stop them and myself suffering less now and in the future. May I protect myself. May I protect them from further bad karma. That impulse is something that then you can think, well, I'm offering blessings, even if I'm suing them, or even if I'm disciplining them, or even if I'm, there's a sense of I'll do the best I can so that they can suffer less now and in the future. Yeah? Because if they create bad karma, that's bad for them. Yeah. Does that
Obviously,
help a
they
bit,
don't see it
Sally?
like this.
They don't see it like that, but you're wiser. You're wiser, or you can act from more wisdom. You can act from a sense of, I can bless these people. I can help them behave less painfully for themselves and for others. You know, that's, you know, if you've got a pet, the best pets are the ones that are incredibly well trained. Yeah? The best dogs you see are the ones that are acting as guide dogs for the blind. You feel a sense of joy when you see them. Yeah. And so the sense of what training can I offer here to myself and to others so that they will suffer less now and in the future. It takes training. Yeah.
Even though my first motivation is to lessen the suffering I'm experiencing because of their behavior. It's
Well, yes, yeah, because you're sensitive, you're allowing them to see and to appreciate the suffering that they're generating. Because a lot of people would actually prefer that you were enlightened. You know, most people would prefer that you were enlightened because you'd prefer that they were enlightened. Yeah, because then their lives would be less suffering. You know, they would actually. So, so you have to show them, this is what, when you do this, this is how I feel. This is what I experience. And so you allow them to grow in wisdom. And the result of me feeling like this is I sue you, or I call the police on you, or I try to stop you, you know, in some way. Because this is how this works, so that there's blessings for everybody, for yourself and for others. Without hatred, because it's not hatred, it's just your intention is to help beings suffer less. Because it makes life easier for you. You know, that's all. You just wish that they were enlightened. Sorry, if that means you're going to prison, that's what happens. Does that help a bit? So you don't have to be don't be a doormat. Don't, when people say, you're Buddhist, you should just accept everything. No, I don't have to accept stupidity. It's, it's not, it's not.
yeah, this is where I know I'm not enlightened yet, so I know I shouldn't be attached to the results on the one hand and to act from a pure art as much as I can. But I know I'm also suffering and I'm acting
Yeah,
from my suffering. I want to stop it in a way by stopping
yes.
the people who are causing me this suffering.
Yeah.
So I'm
Or
not
you
sure
feel are
this is
causing
the
you the suffering.
motivation. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah, it's not, you're trying to help them cause less suffering for themselves and for others, trying to help them stop creating more bad karma for themselves and others. And you may get it wrong. You will get it wrong because that's, you know, very, very stupid people think they never ever make mistakes. Yeah. Stupid people don't learn from their mistakes. If you're a bit cleverer, you learn from your mistakes. And if you're cleverer still, you learn from other people's mistakes. That's called educating yourself. But very, very stupid people think they never ever make mistakes. Yeah. So because you always have to sort of correct and learn what's the best way for less suffering now and in the future. With the freedom that one has and one experience now in this life, here and now, this place, this time. Thank you for asking. Thank you for your questions. There's a few more minutes. Hoi.
Ajahn, maybe we can finish with the chanting, as this is the usual.
Do you want me to chant something?
Would be even better. Yes.
Imina punya kamena upajaya gunutara acharyo bhagaraja mata pita chanyataka suryo chandi maharaja gunavandhanara pija brahma maharaja indaja lokapala cha devata yamo mita manusaja maja taverika pija Sabe sata sukhi hontu punyani pakatani me sukhancha dividantentu kipang pa pedo matang imina punya kamena imina udisena cha kipahang sulape chevadhanu patana jedana ye santane hina dhamma Yavanibhanato mamangna santusa Adayeva yatajato pave pave Ujujitang satipanya Saleko viryangina Maralabantu no kasa Katuncha viryesume Buddhati pavaronato Dhammo nato varuttamo nato Pace kabudho cha sangona Totaro mamang te sotama nubawe namaro kasang labantuma. Okay. Thank you all very much. Very, very best wishes. And very good luck.
Thank you, Ajahn.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for sorting this out and setting up this Zoom session.
Thank you, Ajahn.
Bye-bye.